Good Monday morning, everybody. Jim Williams here, along with Sean Miller. And now there were two. Kansas City making their third trip to the Super Bowl in the last 5 years, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And someone who was at the link yesterday, Sean,
Yep.
good game. Certainly, Philadelphia looked like the class of the group.
Yeah, I think when you watch that game, when you watch the two games last week,
Mm-hmm.
I think on the basis of that, I thought San Francisco was going to have some issues today
Mm-hmm.
or yesterday, and then obviously once Purdy gets hurt, and they turn the ball. You can't turn the ball over in those games. I mean, the
No.
Eagles played a clean game. I just talking to you about these. I don't think it would have mattered if Purdy got hurt or not. I think the Eagles probably would have won. I don't know if it would have been 31-7. Maybe it would have been 24-7, something like that, or 24-10. But
Right.
Once Josh Johnson came in and just like deer in the headlights. I mean, the Eagles are just, their defense is really good. It's going to be interesting to see, how they match up with Mahomes. If Mahomes isn't 100%, I think the Chiefs could be in trouble.
Well, he's got time, 2 weeks more to heal from the high ankle sprain.
Yep.
It didn't seem to bother him much yesterday. That was a good football game. That was the Bengals. It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't a textbook game. I mean, they both kind of sloppily played for a while there, but both teams' defenses seemed to do well. And then when Kansas City was down to their final two wide receivers and using three tight ends, you get Mahomes, who scrambles on that next to last play, and then Osai, is running at full speed, tries to just push up and touches him, and he basically just pushed him. But you got to make the call. He was out of bounds. He doesn't make that mistake. They got 8 seconds on the clock, and they're a good 65 yards away from a field goal. From a touchdown. So that 15 yards certainly helped get them there. But one play does not define a game. But it was a heck of an ending, and if you're a Kansas City fan, it was probably the ending you would hope to get.
Yeah. I just there's some really dodgy calls and stuff like that, but it's probably the teams that are the 1 seed, the teams that have been the best all year are going to play in the Super Bowl. So it's probably about right. And it's going to be interesting. Andy Reid going back against the Eagles. I just, the Eagles.
How's Andy? How's the Philly fans with regard to Andy? I mean, Andy was a good guy in Philadelphia. Everybody seemed to like him when he was there.
Yeah, I think they probably are gonna, I think they have a fond memory of him. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. But
they're not going to be rooting for him. But I guess
no, they won't be rooting.
But he has great respect for the organization. The organization has great respect for him.
Yeah.
Ironically, if Andy Reid, of course, he was in Philadelphia forever, and he owns the record for the most wins from as a head coach in Philadelphia. He's one win away from breaking Hank Stram's record as winning the most games in Kansas City. So that's kind of an ironic. If he were to win the Super Bowl, he would tie Hank Stram in Kansas City. So that's kind of one of those fun situations. Like, you never know what's going to happen. But Andy's a good guy, and that Eagles team playing well. Hopefully, we'll have a good Super Bowl out there in Glendale.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting. There's going to a lot of stuff will change between now and then. I think. I'm just I think Mahomes will be better than he was yesterday. There's no way, he's anywhere near 100% yesterday, obviously.
Mhm.
4 to 6 weeks. So he'll be closer to healthy. But, one hit or one could change. So, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of hype around that game.
Yeah, there always is. And even with the situation with what we got right now. Let's talk a little bit about soccer. There was quite a bit of soccer over the weekend, and it was some entertaining stuff.
Yeah, I think the games, the FA Cup games were pretty good. You started the. Let me pull up these results. You started the weekend with, obviously, the Arsenal and City game. And it kind of went the way that maybe we thought it would.
Right.
City, I think, just a little bit stronger with the backups. The two early games on Saturday, Leicester Walsall was atrocious game. I watched basically that whole game. Leeds picked up a big win, and Manchester United picked up a win later, which means now in the Premier League, Manchester United and Leeds will play twice in 5 days on February 8th and February 12th. Maybe I'll try to see if I can get to that game.
I was going to say, aren't you going to be there?
Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday, but we'll see. So Southampton, another big win. They're in the middle of another cup run here. And then there was just a ton of draws. 1-1, Sheffield Wednesday, Fleetwood Town. There's 6 replays of the 16 matches. The craziest game was that Wrexham game on Sunday. There's 15 matches because one is still playing today. Wrexham went down 1-0 and then went ahead 2-1, gave up a goal, 2-2, red card for Sheffield United. Patrick Mullen scored, and it looked like Wrexham was through. And then in the 90+5, John Egan scored, and now they have a replay. So good. I mean, it's good for Sheffield. It's good for Wrexham because they'll pick up some more money here. But they were hoping they were going to be in that draw there. Well, I mean, they'll be in the draw today. So if they draw Manchester United or something, they know, if it's the ball number 3 and ball number 5, they know, hey, listen, we got Manchester United next. So could keep that dream run going. But it's interesting when you look at the odds now for it. It's starting to dwindle for some of these teams. The FA Cup right now, the odds to win, Manchester City's at +140, Manchester United's at +350, Tottenham 600, Brighton 900. I mean, it's just there's not
Brighton this weekend.
That game was Matoma. The Matoma goal was probably the goal of the month. Liverpool stinks. I mean, they're just not very good right now. They have a lot of injuries. They spent 140 million pounds on 2 forwards that stink. I mean, I think if you've asked anybody, how bad Darwin Nunez has been, he'd be stunned. They'd be stunned, and he was bad, and so was. Gakpo, I thought, he wasn't very good. So they're a mess.
Well, you mentioned, on Friday, how you thought that this Brighton team was a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and they're trying, Arsenal wants to buy. They tried to put a bid in for Moises Caicedo, and right. Brighton, they offered him a lot of money, and Brighton said, look, he's not for sale. And he's out of the team right now until the transfer window closes, and then he's going to play for him, and then he's going to make a huge move in the summer, either to Chelsea or to Manchester United or somewhere. But Brighton keeps doing this. They lose, players, and they just sign players. I mean, they have a really good scouting department. They're very good. I mean, I would imagine they're going to depending on the draw, obviously, hopefully they draw, City in the next round, but they're right in the mix for Europa League. I mean, right now, once again, if they win their games in hand, which date to be confirmed, if they win their games in hand, I don't know when they're going to play them. I think it's Nottingham Forest and someone. Anyway, if they win those two games, they're right in the mix. So it would be very, very interesting.
Well, you had mentioned that you thought, they were a team to keep an eye on. Maybe not, maybe not to win the whole thing, but certainly to maybe even sneak into a potential Champions League.
Yeah, I think they're probably not good enough to get to the Champions League. I think they can make Europa League. I mean, if they win the cup, they'll get in anyway. But when you look at the table right now, they're 2 points ahead of Liverpool. Both are on the same amount of games, 19. They're 5 points behind Tottenham.
Oh, well, Liverpool's not playing well at all.
Yeah, that's right. They've played 2 less games. They're even with Fulham on points, but they played two less games. It's the teams below them that I think are going to be dangerous. Like Chelsea, look, you can't sign that amount of talent and not be a dangerous team at some point. I think they could. Chelsea actually, I think might be a team to watch in the Champions League. Although I just don't know if they have enough goals to win it, but. They could possibly make a deep run here with all these players they've just bought. So it's interesting. And then in these other leagues, it's just parity at this point. I mean, when you look at Real Madrid drew on the weekend. I mean, their schedule, I think, is starting to catch up to them. They're 5 points back of Barcelona right now. Barcelona's only allowed 6 goals in the league, which, you're not going to
pretty amazing.
lose a lot of matches like that. So, yeah, Barcelona all of a sudden with a 5-point gap. And then, the crazy league is Ligue 1 in France. I mean,
yeah.
Now PSG is only, they have a 3-point lead right now on Lens and a 5-point lead on Marseille. That league is all of a sudden wide open. PSG can't, they drew on the weekend. And, the other league is the Bundesliga. I mean, same thing there. Bayern Munich, they're a disaster right now. I mean, they've had 3 straight 1-1 draws since they've come back. They drew to, they're drawing good teams, but, not the Cologne game. But, right now, the Bundesliga table, Bayern Munich is on 37 points. Union Berlin is 36. Leipzig is 35. Dortmund is 34. Freiburg is 34. Frankfurt is 32. So, that's the top 6 there, all within 5 points. I think Munich probably wins it, but, we've seen this 100 times.
Right.
But, the longer that stays competitive and Bayern Munich, if they beat PSG in the Champions League, they're going to be playing all these extra matches. So, I think it's just interesting to watch. A lot of these teams have injuries, so it's going to be, it's going to be interesting. They're getting João Cancelo from Manchester City, so that should shore up the defense. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to watch right now.
There's on the business side, JP Morgan looks like they are bullish on Italy's soccer because JP Morgan Chase is reportedly has given preliminary interest in financing the entire Serie A media business between somewhere in the neighborhood of $761 million to as much as $1.1 billion in financing it. So that would they would handle the sale of all the international media rights beginning in 2024. That's a pretty hefty investment in Serie A.
Yeah, it's the streaming right now is where it's at. I mean, it's clear that soccer is the one that's going to keep, the numbers every week. I mean, the numbers don't lie. They're setting records every week.
Right.
Clear. This is where the thing is going to go. I mean, baseball and basketball and football's already, these things are already big, or I don't know, maybe as big as they're going to get. I think soccer, there's still a growing demand for it. The numbers just keep going up and up and up. So it's interesting.
Well, I think that from a streaming standpoint, it's justified what's going on with Paramount Plus, with with, of course, Peacock, and those are the two, and then Apple just getting into the MLS situation. But when you can mix, the thing is, and this is something if not better than I, certainly as well as I do. Soccer audiences are more educated and bigger spenders. That's just a fact. Okay. The demographics of soccer is the demographics as an advertiser you want to get your money, your product in front of, because they tend to be more educated. They tend to be more likely to buy something based on brand, based on support in that standpoint. So it's it's a good demographic to have, and you don't have to have 27 million people watch it. All you have to do is have people get involved, and they've got a ton of people involved. So I think that's key. Is when you look at that demographic, soccer's demographic is the demographic that advertisers want to get in front of.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, it's once again, I mean, it's with every person that comes in to the country from other places. It's these people are all already, most of them are soccer fans. So, I just think it's really big.
Well, if you think about it, right, when you and I were growing up, at least I will speak for myself. I'll let you speak for you. When I was growing up, on Saturday morning, you watch cartoons. That's not the case anymore. These kids are tuning in and watching, Premier League soccer. They know more about Premier League soccer than probably, they know about baseball or basketball. Because every Saturday morning they sit down, or Sunday morning they sit down, and they watch one or sometimes two games. And that's why the demographic is so good. There's you and I both graduated with degrees in political science, and the first rule in political science is demographics are destiny. And the demographics for soccer and streaming soccer, when you look at 89% of sports fans who identify themselves as soccer fans, that's 89%, have streamed at least 10 games in a month. That's not difficult to figure out.
Yeah, and it's only gonna. Yeah, I think it's only gonna keep growing. Once again, it's. When you have banks like JP Morgan doesn't usually get into stuff to lose money.
They don't get into sports.
Yeah, they don't do things to lose money. That's for sure. So
no, that has never been the case in the nearly 180 years that JP Morgan.
Yeah, these banks bet on winners. I mean, that's the whole model that they do. So
Well, you can't even get JP Morgan involved in baseball or basketball. So, that just shows you, where they're headed in that regard. So, let's see, odds and ends. Quick odds on those who are out there watching the Tom Brady watch. Stephen Ross this weekend said that the Dolphins have no interest in signing Tom because they have put their money and their time in Tua, and that's where he's going to be. And Tua is surprisingly still in the protocol, so he's still going through. And at this point, he's not. The only thing he would play in is the Pro Bowl, which is going to be a flag football game. So they're not even letting him play there. So at this point, you might as well rest him, and you might as well make sure he's in good shape if he's going to be your guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So from that standpoint, in world sports otherwise, I don't know if you're a big fan. I happen to be a big fan of sports car racing. This was a good week because the weekend was the 24 Hours of Daytona. There's 4 different classifications in IMSA. And so this is the first time they had the hybrids. They ran the hybrids out there. And Acura won the race. Same guys who won it last year won it this year. And it was a good race. It was a good 24-hour race for Acura out there. But hybrid racing, this was the first time we got to see cars that, not only had electric motors, but also had gas powered. And so it was like it was a big step for racing in general. So that was what else happened over the weekend. Pretty much, it was football and soccer centric. We're getting ready for the hockey and the NBA to have their breaks for the All-Star game coming up soon. But it was a good weekend to be in Philadelphia because I saw some pretty cool stuff that they did using drones over Philly the night before, which was kind of cool. And Philadelphia is a good sports town anyway. They support their teams. And yesterday when you were over at the link, I'm sure that there was I saw that Kevin Hart, Mike Trout, pretty much all the Philly boys were in town.
Yeah, they seem to. Bradley Cooper, all the basketball players are there. John Middleton and his wife. They seem to support. Philly supports their teams when they're winning. Yep.
So, from a standpoint of as we get here toward the bottom of the hour, we saw Djokovic win another Australian Open. Is there any reason to believe that he's not going to win the Grand Slam this year?
I mean,
as long as he stays healthy, using that category.
Yeah, I mean, just probably. I think he'll win. He'll definitely win the U.S. Open because he got banned from there. I mean, I think he'll want to win all 4. I don't know if he will, but it's really hard to win all 4. But
right.
I would say maybe not the French, but he's been pretty good there.
Grass on Wimbledon, and then he's got the same surface at the U.S. Open that's in Australia. So
yeah, I mean he hasn't lost, and he's won 28 consecutive matches down there.
Right, and he didn't even. I mean, he didn't break a sweat in that game to win the title.
Yeah, and once again, I think he was going to make an example of people at this tournament after last year. I think he's going to do the same thing at the U.S. Open. I think he's going to win at least 2, maybe 3. He's going to have it's going to be interesting. I just don't think someone will beat him at some point, but
yeah, I mean that's eventually it's a foregone conclusion, but right now it doesn't look like there's many people. Let's put it that way. It doesn't look like there's many people out there that could.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's that's kind of the key to the whole thing. What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you about the situation with the when you go to Europe. Give us a preview of what you're going to be doing when you're over there, so we can know what to look forward to and start to have some fun vicariously through your for your trip.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be at a bunch of games. I gotta try to see if I can get tickets to the game on the Monday there. The Saturday. I think it's Chelsea and West Ham. I think I probably could get tickets, but yeah, we'll have to see. But I usually I haven't had a problem getting tickets for that. Let's make it. I'll put it that way. So I think it'll be, I'll get to see that. I'll get to see Manchester United play. I'm going to Barcelona to see Manchester United play. It's interesting.
Which so you'll be headed out when so we can keep a lookout for you.
When am I leaving?
Yeah.
Next Thursday. I'll leave Thursday night. Or no, is it next Thursday? Yeah, sorry. Next Thursday. I take my ESPN show and then I'll go. It'll be, I'll be over there. My guy Alex Costin is speaking at the affiliate conference in London, I think it's called. So that'll be pretty interesting. Yeah, it should be good. And then I'll see
overseas.
Barcelona, Manchester United. I forget who they play on who do they play on the 19th? They play Leicester City on the 19th.
That's the knockout rounds.
The Europa League. Yeah, the 2 Thursday games. Leicester is just a regular Premier League game. Then they play Barcelona again, and then they're in the Carabao Cup final. Hopefully, they're up 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. So they got basically 2 feet in the final, but still not. You got to finish the tie.
You got to get it done. All right. Well, cool. Tell you what, we may end this puppy early today. What exactly? Any final thoughts here before we get moving?
I'm just that FA Cup draws at 2:00 today. So if you're tuning in to watch that, I think it's going to be interesting. There's 16 balls. Some of them will have 6. Some will have 2 teams. Because of the thing. But you just want to kind of see. There's going to be some teams that get through here. That maybe they're going to get to. You're going to see. Maybe a Derby County, or maybe they play today. Maybe in Burnley in a quarterfinal. Maybe a Southampton. Maybe a Sheffield United. You're going to see some decent teams from the lower leagues making runs here. So it's going to be interesting, and I expect probably hopefully Tottenham draws Manchester City, or one of those teams. Brighton draws Manchester City, and Manchester United draws Wrexham. That would be great, or Grimsby Town. Just keep this run going here. But it's interesting. The cups are always good because, you get some of these lower league teams. And it's going to be, there's not a lot of Premier League teams left in the tournament at this point. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. So, and they're most of those teams are down the table. So you're going to have, you could have half the teams be from lower leagues here going forward, which will be great.
It's always good for the sport to have different faces, different teams involved. So absolutely. So from that standpoint, well, all right. Tell you what, let's close up shop here today, so you can get out early.
All right.
Evidently, Foxy had something else he wanted to do today because he didn't come. But
busy today.
Yeah, busy, and we'll get Amedeus back, and we'll have some fun. Well, look, thanks for joining us, Sean. It's always a pleasure, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, and everybody, we'll be back here at 9:00 tomorrow morning. Okay.